Well, welcome to the Nitty Gritty. We are sitting here with Nick and Janessa Whatcott. See, I remember. Is it Whatcott or Whatcott? Like, is there a proper way to say it?
I've always grown up. It's Whatcott.
Whatcott. Okay,
yeah, but I don't care. Whatever works, man.
I mean, it's spelled like Whatcott.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
But Whatcott sounds way better.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Got to silence the phone. It's only our 78th episode, so I'm still learning. Well, welcome.
Thanks for having
I
me.
guess I didn't really. So, G.O.A.T. That's your company.
Go
Both
Haircut.
of you guys.
I have ownership in it, but I don't do a ton.
I mean, you're the wife, so
Well,
technically
you've got
you are
ownership
the
technically
boss.
through marriage.
Yeah,
That's
50%, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Wait.
Janessa did come up with the name, though.
I did.
Nice. It's a
So,
great name.
She did. I got to give her credit that. And then I have two business partners.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do own G.O.A.T haircuts.
And then NixonStrong,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And that's the one. I mean, obviously, I think everybody around here knows G.O.A.T now. There's quite a bit
I don't
of them.
know.
They're awesome.
We're trying to grow them. We've got...
You guys have done a fantastic job.
right?
well, thanks. We've got about another... We'll probably have another, at least in the state of Utah, another 15 by spring.
Wow.
That many?
Yeah. At the latest summer, and then we're starting to branch out of the state.
I don't know if you know Sean Howard from the Johnson Files,
I don't.
but he's a really big, he's a big fan. He's a member
Oh,
of
awesome.
G.O.A.T
Sweet.
Haircut.
What's
so-
crazy is I have no haircut background whatsoever.
Right?
Yeah, none. Like
But you got to be like trimmed up, ready to go all the time now. Like you
actually,
gotta-
I'm not half the time.
Yeah, you're looking pretty high and tight right
So,
now.
whatever.
Neither are our kids.
No,
Yeah. Yeah, we're the
Say,
worst.
once you own a salon, you got to start. You got to represent.
Yeah, you'd think. And
I
then I
figured.
never have time to get in. Or they're
Isn't
too
that
busy
how it
and
goes?
I can't get in.
That's totally how it goes. Everyone thinks I want barbecue all the time, and it's usually the last thing. We got to text. We went to the World Series last week. It was like
Oh, sweet.
bucket list for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
But we landed. It was in Dallas, and everyone's like, "All right, let's go eat." Like, we're in Texas, barbecue. I'm like, no,
You're like, that's the last thing I want. Smell
hell,
it.
no.
Yeah, I
please.
smell it all day long.
Oh,
Well, it's like my
last thing I
friends.
want.
They're like, if you want to golf, don't get in the golf industry
Yeah,
because you never get to play.
don't make
Yeah.
it your job.
You know, so same
Totally
idea.
ruins it.
It's true.
And so, just for our listeners, tell us a little bit about NixonStrong, your Instagram
Let me
account.
start. All right. So we started NixonStrong after our son Nixon. He was 6 when he was diagnosed with cancer, with osteosarcoma, and he had it in his femur and his legs and his lungs and his arm and everywhere. So he battled for quite a while. And during that time, we had great foundations reach out to us who wanted to help support him on trips or just help him out, teams. And so when he was doing pretty good, we talked to him about, hey, let's start a foundation. Let's help out some other kids who are going through the same thing as you. And he thought that was so awesome. So that's why we started the NixonStrong Foundation. He wanted to be able to give back like he had been given through other kids.
So cool. I totally remember when you guys came over to BYU.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm at practice pretty much every day.
Oh, yeah.
Not this year, of course.
Yeah, they
Stupid COVID.
Right.
banned you.
But yeah, it's so yeah. I mean that was a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So he was diagnosed in 2018, and we got in contact with the BYU team, and they're amazing. They just took him in like he was one of their teammates, and he thrived on it. Like it made him fight so much harder knowing
Right.
that he had so many people around him. But he ended up passing away in June 25th, 2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
2018.
2018, that's when it was. And so we just decided we wanted to keep carrying on his legacy and his wish of helping others and giving back to the cancer community. We made a ton of friends, and we didn't feel like we could just move on with our lives knowing that the situations they were in and things that their kids were fighting for and they were trying to do as a family. And so we wanted to
That's
just
so
keep
cool.
it going.
Wow. You know, it's funny. Before we talk to, we have to thank Rena.
Rena and Gary.
Rena, yeah. Oh, yeah. Rena and Gary. Sorry, Gary. Rena and Gary. You know, they've brought you two up a lot, and I've been familiar with, I think since the BYU thing. Like, I feel like I see NixonStrong a lot. Like, you guys are doing some pretty awesome things.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Hope
And we're
so.
trying.
We're
I mean,
trying.
I mean, it's
It's
no. Go ahead.
I was just
Sure.
going to say it's one of those things, you know, you got to try to build a name for it. And if it's
Right.
just like a business, I mean,
Sure.
really, I mean, try to get, and the whole reason you're doing that is obviously create as much awareness as you can so that
Right.
people people know, and we can continue to grow it and do things for these kids and families. And we kind of both have a vision of what we want to get to. And one of those visions that I have is we want to have a house down right by Primary Children's, because there's families that come here for,
Months at a time.
they'll be here for 6 months, and they don't have anywhere to go. I mean, they're staying in the Ronald McDonald House or trying to figure something out. And so our goal and vision is, a lot further down the road is to have lots of cool things. But one of those things for me personally is to have a house down there, and that it's just blocked out for a certain period, and these people can come and you say, hey, come in here. Here's a home for you to stay in. We provide the cleaning. What do you want for a grocery list? When do you want us to come in and clean? And you just worry about caring for your kid and your family. And that's something that we're trying to get to eventually. And so
what an amazing
keep
goal.
creating awareness,
My gosh. We had an episode last week with the Deaton. So it was the second time he had been on, and it was kind of based around addiction. Mm-hmm. He's got a company called Your Living Proof. But I was thinking this morning, as far as something that has kind of gotten to the point where it's touched all of us, there's not too many people anymore that have not been affected by, or somebody in their life affected by addiction. I kind of feel like childhood cancer is the other one.
Yeah.
Like we have a niece, Clara, who passed away. Man, how long has it been now? 7, 8 years?
8 years. I think she passed away right after Brody was born.
Wow.
Well, how old was she?
She was 4, right?
Oh, yeah.
Neuroblastoma.
Yeah.
And it was just rough. And it I didn't know Clara that well. It's the one family in our in-laws that live back in Washington still, but I just remember that the legacy that the kids leave behind, there's something about, and sorry, I'm jumping right into the deep stuff right off the bat, but
you're good.
It's, I never forget how much of an impact Clara had on so many people that didn't even know her. There's something about little kids, as hard as it is, the world's a tough place.
Yeah.
And that wall comes down pretty quick and that heart softens and melts really fast when you're talking about a child. And you just wonder how, I can't help but think that more people or God can get more work done through those precious little kids so much faster with large groups of people than he can with other, trials. Yeah. And that's probably a hard thing I don't think you could ever justify it, but it's for Clara, at least from my experience, it's always been comforting to think that I know quite a few people personally that started going to church again, for example, because of Clara, or reached out and apologized to a family member, or
kind of put things in perspective.
Started speaking to a family member because, just like you said, Andrew, like it puts things into perspective, and you realize that life is a gift and you never know when it's gone. So I just feel like so much darkness became light, or damage was repaired. Like just this one little 4-year-old person, just that I swear thousands of these people didn't even know.
Yeah.
And so it's so cool to hear that Nixon is doing the same thing, and that you guys are continuing the legacy. Like, Nick, I've known you for 5 minutes, but I can tell you're a pretty high energy dude.
Oh, well, thanks.
Like, you're going to get it done. Like, you just seem like the kind of, like, you're going to get it done. Like, that house is going to be there.
Well, we're going to make it happen for sure. And you're right. Like, going back to Nixon's story in the first place too, it's kind of amazing how this, certain things happen in your life that you're kind of like, I would have never done this had this not occurred, or had I met this person or this. And I feel the same way, because Janessa simply made a post on Facebook. It had nothing to do with like us trying to think about Nixon or what was going to happen next with him. It was, hey, she made a post to really let her friends know that what was going on with Nixon when we first found out. And somebody had asked her, hey, can you make that public? And so she makes it public, and suddenly her post goes viral to I don't know how many people within 3 days. It was like crazy amount.
It's like 100,000 or
Yeah.
something.
And,
Wow.
And so suddenly people are following Nixon's story. I mean, from not all over the country, but even outside of the country. And so, you know, I do think that for sure, without a question, that some of these kids and families and that's part of their mission. You know, they're part of their mission on earth was to do things for others, even including myself, that, you know, I probably would have never started the NixonStrong Foundation, obviously, if it wasn't for Nixon. And so it makes you wonder about, you know, there's things that happen in our lives that
They're hard to explain sometimes.
yeah, and change us forever and change the direction and our goals and our actions that move us, you know. So
I mean, you can tell you guys are pretty special, and that's something Rena and Gary always talked about. Like, I even texted Rena this morning. I was like, hey, what do I need to know? And she's like, just let them talk. She's like, they are so
They're
amazing.
great.
Like,
Oh,
just
that's
let
those
them
are
talk.
amazing too.
But I'm curious, we've had a little time looking back as you kind of maybe you reflect on it. Was there anything that happened previous to Nixon getting cancer that you feel like was preparing you for that moment? I know you can never be prepared for it, but do you ever look back and think, okay, this is how we've been able to get through it, right? Like, hindsight's always 20/20.
I don't think so, but
I don't
maybe
think so. I think we've gone through some other trials in our life before that and been able to come out and fight through it and go through that. And so I think maybe that helped, knowing that we had been through hard things. We had already had another son pass away earlier when he was an infant. And so I was like, if I can survive that, like, I can survive anything.
Was it a similar thing?
No, so he was born with, I mean, normal baby. He had like double club feet, which we did all the genetic testing and everything looked fine about, but he ended up having a seizure, so they went and did more testing, and he had a blockage in his aortic arch. So while he was developing in utero, like, he basically was brain damaged. He wasn't getting enough blood flow up there. And so they're like, there's nothing that we can do. He's had so much brain damage, you know, he won't be able to make it on his own. So we ended up just taking him off life support when he was a week old. And so that, I think, kind of prepared us, because it's like, okay, we could do that. That was really hard. It sucked a ton, but like, we were able to pick ourselves up and move forward. And so I think with Nixon's diagnosis, I just assumed we'd be able to do the same. I was like, you know, we can fight through this. We have a great family, great kids. Like, they love each other a ton. You know, we'll just bam this out for as many months as we need to, and we'll be over it. And I also thought, there's no way Nixon will pass away from this, because like, God's already taken one of our sons. He can't take another one. Like, we've already paid our price. We've already done our dues type thing. And that's kind of where being naive is nice. But yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of that would maybe prepare us for it, is because we'd already overcome some other hard trials that we knew we got this, like, we can do it.
Yeah. What was it like? Like, how did the diagnosis come to be?
You want me to talk about that, or you want to talk about that?
care.
I mean, I'll just well, it was just random. He had complained about having leg pain in his leg, but Nixon was a trooper. He played basketball. He just started wrestling, and we were skiing that winter. And his first complaint to me that I can even recall about his leg, like being tired or hurting, was skiing. And this was probably in early December. And not a lot of mention of it. I mean, he said his leg, and I just attributed it to him skiing throughout the day.
Yeah, leg aches with kids
Yeah,
are pretty normal.
like, I'm like,
when they're growing.
exactly.
Growing pains, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So that's the first time I ever hear of it.
Right.
And then progressively, more that month and even into January a little, it tended to pick up a little bit more. He'd wake up in the middle of the night and he'd be crying that his leg hurt. And but he also was wrestling in January. He won the first time he'd ever wrestled, and he won his first entire wrestling match in his age division.
Wow.
In January. Okay, and he's got cancer in his body already. He's stage 4 cancer, because come February, he kind of finally, it was getting where it was happening more frequently, and he was crying. And so I even told Janessa, maybe take him in. Let's see what's going on. Obviously, there's something. Maybe he fell down. Maybe something happened at basketball. He's got a little hairline fracture, something weird, right? And so she took him in, and that's when the pediatrician took the X-ray and noticed the sarcoma in his femur. And I remember thinking the first time when she called me, like it wasn't that serious, but she was kind of a little bit freaked out. And so, but they had wanted us to go up to Primary Children's that night, and we were supposed to go to a baseball tournament for my other boys. And so suddenly I was starting to get a little worried when they're like, yeah, you guys need to come in right now. And we took them up that night, and within a 24-hour window, our lives had changed. We went from, hey, this is just something in his leg, to suddenly, no, he's got stage 4 osteosarcoma cancer, and he's in the fight of his life, And so suddenly that was something that was.
The kid was tough as nails, huh?
Yeah, he was.
He was.
I mean, wrestling alone. I want my kids to wrestle. So I wrestled in Wasatch back in the day. I sucked. Because I grew up in Southern California, and I graduated with Cale Sanderson. Like, our team was like top 5 in the country, and I got worked every single week. But I had cool free stuff. But yeah, I just remember how Little Wasp Wrestling in Heber, like, if your kid's soft, he doesn't wrestle. You know what I mean? Like,
gotta have grit.
So it just makes me think of a bulldog. Like, for him to feel that leg, I mean, it probably any other normal kid,
right?
What a tough kid, man.
Yeah,
and that was there when he was wrestling.
Yeah,
that was there. And that's the crazy thing about this whole thing is, if you looked at Nixon, even the day we took him in, you looked at Nixon, there's no way you would know that the kid is sick.
Sure.
Like, you can't. There's nothing. He doesn't have any symptom that he's sick other than, hey, my leg hurts, and suddenly he's got stage 4 osteosarcoma in his body, and and really his it was all over his body, and at the time we didn't know that it was everywhere. They didn't know it was in his arm. We knew that it was in his lungs a little, but we weren't prepared for it. I mean, when he goes in and he gets the confirmed diagnosis, they go in and actually take out part of the bone. It's a small surgery. It takes go take the sample of it,
right,
to get a confirmation result on that. And the surgeon comes back. I can't ever forget that day. And he's looking at us saying, hey, your son's in for the fight of his life. And by the way, we've got to amputate his leg. I mean, that's where
that was right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
And you got to make that decision, and you have no idea what's happening and what's really going on. I mean, we're so foreign to cancer. And so that was a crazy moment in life that you don't forget. And then you're making these tough decisions for Nixon, to try to give him the best shot to beat it with the information you have. But looking back on that was a real tough time, having to tell Nixon that he's got to have his leg amputated, and his brothers, and those types of conversations that no parent really wants to ever have with their kid. But you think, hey, if we get through this, hey, you're going to win it. And then, eventually down the road, you've got to look Nixon in the eyes and tell him that he's not going to make it. And, that's brutal. So that's where, these families and what they go through, and these kids, the foundation for me is about sorry.
All right.
It's really about giving kids hope. Because the hard thing is people don't always see behind the scenes. And the kids, they don't want to let their parents down. They don't want to let people down. And it's really about them fighting for all they have, and you trying to give them a sense of hope and a sense of some normalcy, because some of these kids, they lose all of their normalcy, which isn't fair at some of these ages. And so that's, to me, when we came up with the foundation, we said, hey, we've got to do something. I don't want this money going to research. There's plenty of money that goes to research. There's huge organizations that go to research. I want this money and these funds to have a direct impact on the kids and their families.
Quality of life.
Yeah, and a quality of life. Or, hey, if you're not going to make it, go do something fun. Go make as many memories as you can possible with your kid. And some of these people, like Janessa's been working with a family out of Texas, and some of these families, they don't have a lot, and they don't have a lot of means. And so we want to try to do whatever we can to help them. And that's really what the bottom line is, hey, what can we do to make these kids find some hope and find some happiness along their journey? And then the other piece of it is, what can we do to financially support the family? Some of these people parents are losing their jobs, whatever it is, to just battle it with their kids, because it can be such a long process. Right. How can we help you and your family, whether it's paying your mortgage or helping out with the medical bills? So,
well, and for the parents, I'd imagine, it's so funny. It's like, at what age do we start feeling like adults that have our crap together?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
True.
It's such a tall ask for a parent. I guess when I think of your end goal with the home, like you say, the stresses of work, like being away from a job for a couple months, like, I remember watching so many documentaries about after Colorado legalized marijuana, how many families were like buying RVs or campers and parking one parent in Colorado to get residency so they could treat their kids. Like, I mean, that's the type of stuff that you're talking about. But for a parent, especially, you go from one day planning out the like the baseball tournament, to just upside down, everything upside down. I imagine you have to do your best to not show fear.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to mirror the strength for your little kid, because what's a little kid going to do? Like, they're going to be looking at mom and dad.
Exactly.
Like, how am I supposed to feel? Like, am I scared? Like, and if you're scared, they're scared. If you're stressed, they're stressed. And God, I would imagine something like that, the idea that you have, takes so many of those things that shorten life as it is. I mean, the stresses that we all have and the worry, and make it so they can just focus on the treatments, but then even enjoying themselves, right? Like good food, comfortable place to stay, go out and catch a ball game with their kids. Just things that I can't imagine that some of those things aren't better than medicine.
I totally agree. I
Right?
think it's just the little things. And the other thing is, like, families are literally like split apart at this time. Usually one parent is at the hospital with the cancer patient, and the mom or dad, whoever else, is trying to run work and run school life at home. And a lot of kids even fly out of state. So then they're having one parent out of state and I think I just remember being at the hospital and just being like, I just want to be together with my family. I just want to be home. And I remember one time we got tickets as a family to go to the Jazz game, and it was the best thing, because it's like we were out doing something normal and we were together as a family. And
Minds
you take
off of it.
Yeah, it's just like you said earlier about perspective. It really changes your perspective of, what's important. And I remember also being like, I wish I was a Saturday running around with my head cut off, running my kids' baseball games, going like crazy, and I'm stuck in this room like fighting for my kid's life. And it does.
That's an interesting
put things into perspective.
Like, I guarantee just about everybody listening to this right now, within the last few days, had that, like, Saturday sucked. I had to do all this crap.
Things to do,
break
right?
the leaves and go to the grocery store, and my damn kid wouldn't shut up. And
All these.
and that, right?
Yeah,
And then
all
you
the
hear
stuff.
this story, and you hear of an awesome mom that wishes she had a Saturday like that.
And
Like
there's
things-
there's so many moms out there like that, like, and parents, dads too, but it's just like,
Well, we whine more than the moms.
Yeah,
but
oh yeah.
Go ahead.
True.
You're not allowed to say that.
I know, I was like, I'm in a room full of men, I shouldn't say that.
True.
But they literally would do anything to be together as a family, and I don't know, for me, it helps keep things in perspective, just hearing their stories.
So when throughout the process did the foundation come? You guys had plenty on your plate. Like, when did the idea of the foundation actually come?
It came. It came when he was doing pretty well, and so that was there were moments where he was doing really good. There was moments where we'd stop treatment, and so there was a time where he felt really, really good, and grew his hair back. And I don't remember exactly what month. It was probably maybe 6 months prior.
Yeah, it was in the spring.
Yeah, before he kind of started going downhill, and that's where we started talking with Nixon, and I even asked Nixon, what would you want to do? And he kept saying, oh, I want to do the things that I've been able to do, which was to go out and get away from it and do fun things. And there, like Janessa said, there were some great, amazing, phenomenal groups that we got the chance to go do things with that I'm so grateful for those memories. We went on a hunting trip with Nixon, and it was just awesome, on a private ranch, and and just to have that experience now, and those memories are awesome. So that's kind of when it came about.
Okay.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, perspective that comes up with all this too is you don't want to forget about your other kids. Right. And so Janessa and I, out of the gate, we tried to make that commitment to our other kids because they've still got all their lives going. And
how many other kids did you have?
We have 3 other boys.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they're all in baseball at the time.
Poor thing.
You're not kidding me. And boy dogs.
Yeah.
And boy dogs.
They refuse to have any women in the house.
She said she's getting a girl dog
I'm
this
getting
spring.
a girl dog this
She
spring.
said she's got to break up
in
the
a purse.
testosterone.
Yeah.
I know someone who can help you.
And we're going to mate them and everything.
We definitely know somebody that can help you with that. That's what Andrew's wife does.
Oh, nice.
And it is foofy purse dogs. So.
Oh, no. I got to have big dogs.
Oh,
I'll
thank
break
you.
those things.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
I have
need
a
big
Newfoundland
dogs.
and a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Oh, yeah. That's up my
I don't
alley.
like to bend over to pet dogs, and so
I don't want to step
it's
on it and
perfect.
kill it.
Right?
Like, life's too fast. I can't pay attention to you.
The problem is we
never
already
shut up.
have 2 dogs, and she wants to add another dog because she says she needs a female dog.
I deserve it.
What kind of dogs do you guys have?
We have a black and tan coonhound,
Oh, no way.
which I didn't know spoke so much.
Oh, yeah.
He never shuts up. And then we have a Vizsla.
Very cool.
Yep.
So what's your dog? What do you want? Do you
I'm
have it
going to
picked
get a
out yet?
girl Vizsla, and I'm going to
Girl
have a
Vizsla.
mate. Teach
you'll
my
make
boys
some
about
money.
a lot of things
Yeah.
and make money,
There you go.
make their college tuition. It's like a 2-for-1.
I love it. What a great way to. I mean, we had a cool episode about that a few weeks ago, right? About having the talk.
Yeah, see,
What a
there you
great-
go.
what a great
it's
way to do
perfect
it.
with the dogs.
That's right. And you make money while you
Choices
learn.
and consequences.
Choices and consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so with the foundation, that's one thing we wanted is siblings to be not just focused. I mean, we want the cancer kids to be focused on, but if we're ever sending out care packages, I'm always like, hey, how many siblings do they have? What are they interested in? And we make sure we send them because they also take on a lot. I mean, they're trying to deal with this mentally too. Parents are gone, siblings are gone. The kid comes home, they see them, they're so sick all the time, and we don't want them to feel left out or lost.
There are a lot of parallels to this with Danny's episode last week. Just like when you have somebody sick with addiction too, you forget how much it affects, if it's a younger person, other kids in the home, because the parents are just like fighting tooth and nail to save this person and the other kids just kind of get neglected. And I mean, it makes it so that journey becomes their journey, and then it's got to be so easy to get to the point where they just get pissed off about it. And
Absolutely.
like it just adds so much more stress. So you guys thinking of that as such a, you mentioned the Ronald McDonald House. Like I do quite a bit with them through the Utah Grizzlies, and such a cool thing. I know Huntsman does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Huntsman has really built out their facilities to make it comfortable for people to come and stay for an extended period of time. And those things are so important.
They help
and
a ton.
so, I mean, you guys thinking of the siblings is huge because I don't think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we try to make sure that they're included, like send the whole family on the wish trip,
Right.
make sure that it's everybody going that wants to go on their immediate family.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Is that what they did with you guys? I mean, were they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
really
So we had Make-A-Wish. Usually, that's pretty much all over the nation
Right.
to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
What
right.
happens, though, is sometimes these kids will get diagnosed with cancer. They'll go on their wish trip, which is awesome. They get relapsed again. And then they fight cancer for 2 more years. And then they get relapsed again. And they keep fighting cancer. And these families, their last trip together was 6 years ago. Because other than that, they've been in treatment the whole time.
Yeah.
You can't leave when you're in treatment because it's such a rigorous process. The kids are sick and the family can't afford it. And so we just had a family this past year that they got the diagnosis that she had relapsed 6 times from leukemia. She's been fighting it for so long. And so we're like, okay, what's your wish trip? Where would you want to go with your family? And she wanted to go to Hawaii, she wanted to go to we went to California with her. And so we're just bought them plane tickets, just sent their whole family to California for a week because they hadn't been on a trip together for like 6 years.
Yeah, and she wanted to swim with dolphins.
Yeah, she went to swim with dolphins and all that.
So what is that like? I mean, now still running the foundation and you have families coming to you. I mean, is it hard to choose like who you are going to do a trip like that for?
We try to do everybody that we can. I mean, we obviously are smaller as a foundation. We don't have the means as some of the bigger foundations. And so if we can't do a huge trip, we try to help them out in some way or the other. And I think with COVID starting, there hasn't been a lot of traveling as it was, but
COVID goes away tomorrow, so we're good.
yeah sweet.
Let's do it.
Everybody,
Please.
let's travel.
Please.
But
Yeah.
we just try to help as much as we can. And it's hard because there's so many people who need help. I think that's one thing that opened up our eyes, because when Nixon was diagnosed, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's like 10 other families in the valley. It's like there's hundreds of kids, and it's just never ending. I mean, there's funerals that have happened this past year for these kids, and not only that, it's like, okay, well, they want to pay for that funeral, but then the parents also want to buy a plot of land so that they're buried next to their kids, and it's just all those added expenses you don't realize.
Totally unexpected.
Yeah.
So the psychology of, I don't know, I think is it hard sometimes to see yourselves and another family going through that?
Ask that.
Like
does it ever reopen like feelings?
or does it do the opposite?
I don't think it reopens any negative feelings. I think it helps me keep things in perspective, because as life goes on, right, you can get pulled down that we all do, right? Life's busy.
Right.
But for me, I think I feel like I can sympathize a lot more than maybe I would have ever, and you understand and appreciate what they're going through, and you want to be able to do whatever you can to stop the world for them and help them. That's how I feel about it. And so,
well, it's become a passion, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you look at entrepreneurs and they succeed because they're passionate about what they do. And the world needs more Whatcotts.
Oh,
I mean,
thank
plain
you.
and simple. Sorry.
Nice.
no.
And like,
So it sucks that you have to go through it, but
yeah.
think of, for anybody that lives just a normal, long life, the legacy that Nixon leaves, and a lot of it thanks to you too, and his short time that was here is 20 times that of however many people that live a long life and just work and wake up and work and wake up and just...
Yeah.
So, we talk on here all the time about how no matter how dark something is, so, it's almost like the darker it is, the more light comes from it when you dig your way out. I mean, what a special and unfortunately necessary thing for the world to have.
Yeah.
And, it's a huge responsibility to be put on you guys, but I've known you for 20 minutes and you guys have the shoulders for it. I mean, you guys just... It sucks that, I'm sure some days it sucks that it had to be you guys, but there's going to be a lot of grateful people for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the cool thing is I'll tell you through this whole thing too, and even during Nixon's process, it's amazing to see people. I mean, it's like the things Nixon got, the packages he would receive, the support he got, and it really inspired me too. Like, man, I can do more. I've got to do more. I got to be better. I mean, some of these people didn't even know him. The things they sent him, the Navy SEALs that he got to know, and through it, that's what he wanted to be. And so these Navy SEALs teams,
he already had it.
the way they rallied around him, he got to go and do some amazing things with these guys.
How did that come about? If you don't mind me asking?
He had this like natural love that he just wanted
about
to be
loving
like,
the Navy SEAls.
Just about, like how did that connection happen?
He loved football.
Yeah.
And we were watching one of the Meet the Mormons things.
Right.
And he's like, wait, Navy has a football team? And I was like, no. I'm like, yes. He's like, I want to play for Navy. I want to be a SEAL. And I was like, oh, shoot, here we go.
Yeah, and then we met some friends that were in
some
buds,
friends.
and then we've known some of these other guys that they made connections with, guys that were SEALs, and they came and visited him in the hospital while he was there, and then he's just like diehard. We let him watch
Lone Survivor.
Lone Survivor.
it.
The
Nothing wrong with
TV
that.
edition.
Come on.
Hey, you know
it was
what?
the TV edition. Oh, he loved it.
When you're
Oh,
7
heck
and
yeah.
you don't have a
Yeah.
lot, you pretty much get what
Yeah,
you
and
want.
so
Hell
on a
yeah!
timeline.
Listen, homeboy had his leg
Totally.
amputated. Like he
So-
can handle Lone Survivor.
well, and that's the analogy that we use
Right.
for him about when we had to do it. Like, hey, this is just going to be like some of these other soldiers that they went and battled and they've got a new leg, and he met some of these guys, and that was so cool for him to have that perspective from them about, hey, I can still do anything, my leg's gone, but I can do anything. And so we tried to use that perspective for Nixon when that all shook out. But
And he loved it because he was already planning on putting like extra grenades in his prosthetic and some knives. So if he ever gets like captured or anything, he's like, I could just reach in there and pull out stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep. And after that, I was like, you go be a Navy SEAL. I mean,
Seals are born. Like you have it or you don't.
yeah. I'm like, if you've
And
been
it sounds like Nixon had it. I mean, just the tough, like
he's a warrior.
he
for
would have
sure.
been crazy.
I mean, just holding it in with the pain he was dealing with, winning a wrestling tournament. Like it just, they are wired. I've met 2 in my life, in real life,
Yeah,
and they're just wired
they're amazing
differently.
for sure.
They're crazy,
Yep.
like in a good way, but
Oh yeah.
they're crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and they rallied along with him. They'd send letters to him from all parts of the world, flags, and so
Unreal.
it was funny because we actually got to go out to Navy and go to a game, and they had these Army
Good old
guys.
Ken.
Oh yeah. Ken
the
was a
best.
stud, man.
Amazing.
Awesome. Those guys treated him like gold there too, and it was just incredible.
How cool is that
Yeah.
place?
It's
Oh,
so
amazing.
awesome.
Annapolis is so cool.
It's amazing. You go there and you just hear the history, and it's like incredible. But it was funny because then all the Army guys would be like, he'd tell all the Army, go Navy, beat Army.
They're like, no, be special
Panties.
forces.
Well, we got to switch you to. And then the other special force guys that he got to, because some of the Army guys were phenomenal too, that he got to meet. We're trying to switch him over to be Army, and he wouldn't change.
There's no seals.
He was
Seals are
set.
seals. They're what a
Yeah.
cool thing.
So
I'm excited. So my Uncle Blair made meet the Mormons.
Oh,
Blair
really?
True, yeah.
that's awesome.
So I'm excited to tell him this story because it's just those are those connections that are so.
Yeah.
Those stories are so cool to hear because you just, you put something out there and you don't realize that something like that can happen for somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just grateful for you guys too to have us on. I mean, for us, it's like, the whole thing is let's just keep creating as much awareness as we can to keep
We
being able to
appreciate
give
it.
back.
It's got to be so hard to
So
talk about over and over, and it's still new.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's.
How do you guys keep such a good perspective on
Right.
things? I mean, talking to you both, everything that's happened, like I love.
And running a business, starting a business.
We're not there
Right?
yet. Like
Well,
there's
right,
still more
sorry.
to that, right?
Sorry, I'm
But
just adding to the coolness.
But it's just like, how have you been able to keep positive perspective through this? It's really easy to think, no, like why? Like we already lost a son. Like
Yeah.
no, not again. And then you're going through it, and like everything that happens, like it's so easy to get mad and to get angry at things. How have you guys been able not to get that way?
So for me, like I kind of go back to like I spoke at his funeral, and I wrote my talk probably like at 11 o'clock that night because you have a list to
you
do.
spoke
And
at his funeral?
yeah,
Wow.
I did because I was like, I have to honor him. Like you're close with your kids, but I was usually the one there at the hospital. I mean, Nick was there quite a bit too when he could, but he had
You
to
don't
provide money.
listen, moms, it's a different level. We
yeah.
understand,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, totally.
It really is.
So, I mean, Nixon was like my best friend. Like, I spent more time with him than anybody. And so I was like, I have to speak. Like, that would just be a dishonor. And so I just remember like hurrying and writing out my talk. And I just had like the best spiritual feeling. Like, it was going to be fine. It was going to be all right. And I'm on a Facebook group with some other cancer moms locally who have had kids pass away and stuff. And it's nice to get feedback. And one of the moms was talking about, being angry and, at God for doing this and for doing this to her kid and for her family. And this other mom had commented about like how she could never be angry because God's the only one who can perfect her child. And that just hit home because I'm like, there's no way I could have saved Nixon. It doesn't matter how much money. I mean, we thought about going to Russia. We heard about a trial, like going to Mexico. Like we researched out everywhere, but it didn't matter what we did because like his plan and his path was already set place by God. And I won't be able to heal him. I won't be able to bring him back, but God can. And with him right now, I know he's happy. I know he's enjoying himself. And so
and this feeling that like that all came while it was happening or after?
I would say like I had the faith that like what was going to happen was going to happen. And I could either be mad and angry about it for the rest of my life, or I could just learn from it and kind of grow from it and find something beautiful out of it. And that's like the foundation has helped with that. And it's just like this one thing that just kept playing in my mind. Like there has to be something that comes out of these ashes. Like I felt like our whole world was just burnt down to a crumble, like nothing left. And it's like, there has to be something good that comes out of this. And nothing's going to be good that comes out of it unless you make it. Like nobody's going to come and be like, here, this is all amazing and beautiful now. Like we have to be the ones that get up and make something good out of it.
I feel like there's so much to unpack there about both of your pasts. Like either you went through hell and back already, or you were both raised by kick-ass parents, or it's such a healthy way to think of it, especially during or shortly after it happened, because I feel like grief does really crazy things to people.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's to think, I kind of feel like the one that, and you can't ever blame anybody for this, but like there's no God, or he hates me, or I did something wrong, or like what, it's always just, this is a horrible thing, but to I don't know, it's so healthy what you were thinking. I mean, just to have that feeling, because moms are obviously, there's a level of intuition there with their kids that we will never understand. Like
Absolutely.
we're
no question.
We're seriously here to like dig ditches and lift heavy things for you guys. And so
it's true.
I'm convinced, like we're going to get to heaven and like, hey, yeah, that whole priesthood thing, that was just so you guys felt like you were adequate,
that you could even like maybe step up to their level, right?
No, but for what it's worth, like all days aren't like that. Like there are days that
I'm sure
I wanted to like go to the cemetery and like just claw with my hands back to go in there. But I think as far as like having the purpose of the foundation, I've thought at times like they don't need me. They'll find somebody else to help them out, or but in reality, there's so many kids, there's so many people who are just in our same position that they just need some help. They need somebody to be there. And so that's what gets me out of my bed, is helping them.
How can people help support you in this? Like with the foundation, like what's, like if someone's listening right now and they're touched, and if they are listening, there's no way they're not touched.
I was going to say, if they're not touched, you have no soul.
I mean, I wish we could do even more. And the thing about it is, really, the biggest thing is financial help.
Okay.
We don't take a dime from the foundation, never have, don't plan on it. All the money that we get, it brings in, it goes back. Cool. And so really it's, if they know somebody that needs help, even that we have a thing online you could submit, if they know somebody that it needs the help. But really, we've got to keep creating awareness or figure out a way to just continue to be able to build funds. And so we're trying to do more things. That with COVID this year, we wanted to have a race. We do a baseball tournament. Yep. We're going to do a baseball tournament again next year. But whatever we can keep doing just to continue to support it financially, to keep growing that so that we can to give back, because that's really the funds. We want to be able to give as much as we can back out. And so that's the biggest thing you can do, is really give a financial contribution. And we're a 501c3, so you can, it's totally
fully deductible.
Fully deductible, yeah.
I've always thought, like, how cool would that be to do like the Make-A-Wish for someone, right? Like I see the stories on it, and it always is so awesome. That's always been something like that would be so fun to be able to provide that,
yeah,
for someone else, maybe bring him just a smile on the day where so much hard and bad is around him, lighten that load just for a little bit, if nothing else.
It is. And it's those little things like that, like getting packages or going on a trip, that helps when you go down into the valleys of going back into chemo, going back into radiation, having your kid be sick and separated. It's just those little things that help get you through those. I mean, these kids are in treatment probably for years.
Yeah.
So do you guys kind of focus on this type of cancer, or is it childhood cancer? Because I know with Clara, for example, neuroblastoma is a very rare form of cancer. And man, the thing that we all learned that really sucked was it's like the rarer the cancer, there's the less treatments there are because there's no money in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's really hard.
Yep.
Well,
So-
childhood cancer in general, like that's been a
Right.
big push this year. It's just there's no funding.
No,
behind
they
it.
only get about like 4% of all of the national funding through the cancer.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. And that's again why we went back. Like, I don't want this funds. This isn't going towards research money.
Right.
We got to make an impact on the families and help them right now.
Right now.
And
Well,
so
kids are strong. It's like
they're so resilient.
you get, I don't want to make fun of myself here, but it's like I'm 41 years old. I'm 390 pounds. Like, it's like I've lived a long life. I would much rather like a young, vibrant, strong kid get, like, that's what we should be. 4%, like
4%.
that's crazy.
Well, and that's not even like all the side effects from these from the chemotherapy treatments that they get, and people don't realize
I was
that.
gonna ask about that.
So like Nixon was already starting to lose his hearing. I know a ton of kids that lose their hearing. They're not able to have kids. Like all their reproductive organs get mixed up. Their hearts get mixed up. And as a parent, you'll do anything to have your kids live, right?
For
like
sure.
all of us would do anything. But then all these side effects that domino down for the rest of their lives, they just get robbed of everything.
And they deal with other issues that they've already had to do. It's not like some of them get out and they get cured and they move along, and maybe they don't, but I wouldn't say that that's most of them. I think most of them have some long-term side effects that they have to deal with because of it as well,
Oh,
So, but
sure.
to speak to your question, it's any type of cancer for any of these
Awesome.
kids. Yeah. We are trying to get down the prosthetic piece a little bit more, where we can help
very
kids
cool.
who have lost, but that's really kind of a small fraction too, because it's usually dealing with Ewing's or osteosarcoma type cancers. If they don't have the means, we're going to try to start supporting them there.
What's Ewing's, if you don't mind me
Ewing's
asking?
is another form of bone cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more common. Wouldn't you say it's more common in girls? I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty certain it's usually more common in girls.
So what's the success rate with, is there early detection with bone cancer? Is there?
There's not. It's
There's
really.
not.
It usually ends up like this.
I was
with
gonna say-
hey, I've got leg pain.
it's just
when we took
gone.
Nixon in, we caught that. Really, he'd only complained about December. We took him in February.
Wow.
There was another person.
And it was at stage 4 already.
stage 4.
Jeez.
And so, and again, like you looked at them, you'd never know. And there's other kids that, when we took Nixon in, they said, yeah, we saw somebody that had waited 9 months and brought their kid in, and it was only isolated to the location.
Wow.
It hadn't spread. And that's the other thing. They don't really understand or know why, to an entirety of why it would spread in somebody else versus not and just stay isolated with osteosarcoma or like a Ewing's. But for whatever reason, it spread all over in Nixon. And so he even had it. Usually in osteosarcoma and Ewing's, it'll start in their humerus or their femur. The kind of the crazy thing too with Nixon is usually osteosarcoma happens in more adolescents. And the fact that he was only 6 and truly like stage 4 is pretty rare too. So again, there's no rhyme or reason how, and that's the other crazy thing about how he would have even gotten it. We don't smoke, and it's not like he's around things that could potentially give somebody cancer. And so you just never know. It's just one of those things that you're just, you pray you don't ever have to deal with, but hopefully we can be there for those who are,
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did G.O.A.T come in this process? Because this is enough.
Well,
Like,
go.
I was
In
gonna
the middle
say,
of all of it.
Go.
talk about
you
the
guys
company.
are busy enough.
So G.O.A.T was interesting. We'd already started, and I'd already formed the actual organization. We'd had the idea and started working through it. So it was already underway. I was at 4-way inspection on the first building in Lehigh. And
Can I back you up and ask
Yeah.
where the idea came from? Like, what was there a moment that just was like, you got another bad haircut from a supercut or something, and you're just like, this is bull.
it really wasn't even that. It was actually with my other job and like having to hit quarterly revenues all the time as a sales device rep and always having that like, hey, it doesn't matter how big I build this, I'm constantly penalized year over year, just like,
Wow.
nature of sales, right?
Sure.
But I'm like, how am I going to keep doing this? There's got to be something that I can do that as I build it and sustain it, we can keep growing it. And ironically, I was talking with some sports clips people, owners, and they were telling me how successful they were. And I'm like, what? I'm like, really? So I just started doing a little research. I'm like, we can make this way better.
Right.
Yeah. So we have some cool plans this year too to branch off and do. We're going to probably do a test phase of G.O.A.T athletic spa, G.O.A.T haircuts and athletic spa.
Oh, now we're
and
talking.
those athletic
I
spas.
just shaved my head.
Yeah,
But I'm in for the spa.
Yeah, the athletic spa is geared all at men's recovery therapy. So we're
Very
talking
cool.
massage to cupping to cryotherapy to all those types of things too that we're looking at
Smart.
doing. Yeah,
That's awesome. I'm not going to lie. Before the shaved head, I loved going in and getting pampered.
yeah, dude, you need
At a
to.
barber shop, you'd go in, you get the hot towel, you get
yeah.
the straight razor,
They do all that.
you get the nose wax.
Yep.
You ask for the
Put
you
the
ask
steam
for
on
the-
your face. They got
the
a
person
steamer.
with the best nails, wash your hair.
Totally. Give you the head massage.
But like, I mean, so you don't have any experience in it. The idea came.
hmm
You went to Janessa like, hey, I know we're kind of busy right
Got a
now.
good idea.
I think we should start a business that I have no experience in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, he always is having all the, I don't know how his brain functions because mine's not the same, but he always is having all these ideas of
There's like a
businesses.
million
he
other
wants.
things I'd like to do
And I'm
right
like,
now too.
That
like one
sounds
at a
great,
time.
but I'm going to go take a nap. Like, it just sounds like too much work. And so he had an idea. And so we were trying to think of a name for it. And so I just got on my phone and I think I was searching like top acronyms or something. And I was like, what about G.O.A.T? Like greatest of all time.
So timely too, because it's become such a
It was.
Yeah.
well used. I
Totally.
mean, you hear it all the time now,
Yeah.
and so man, you were ahead of the curve on that one.
Well, thanks. And credit to Janessa on the
Oh, wait.
name.
Don't forget it.
Rewind. You were ahead of the
Thank
curve on that one. Janessa. I am so sorry. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, anyways, we did it, and I was at 4-way inspection on the building. And what's interesting is I had talked to a friend of mine who owns another business, and he kind of looked at some early stage preliminary numbers, and he asked me to be a partner, or if I'd consider. And I initially told him no, and then I kind of went back, and I was at this moment I was reading this book, and it was about. It was actually, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget his name. General McCraven's book about Make Your Bed. Have you guys read that?
Oh, yeah.
So he talks about a part in there rowing the boat together as a team. And I don't know, it struck me. And so I decided to bring in some partners. I ended up, and he's hands down one of the smartest guys I ever know. But I just thought, I'm going to do this on my own. It wasn't anything against him. And anyways, I ended up bringing him in and another partner. And it was perfect timing because I think about it now, and we just kind of finalized things and decided to do it. And then we were on 4-way inspection on the building, and we found out about this. And I just think, man, if I would have not had those guys to help and support, I can't even imagine how that would have gone.
So you were at 4-way and then
Wow.
found out, and then Nixon
Correct.
got his diagnosis?
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was in the process. And then so we launched the business while everything was going on still. And those guys helped out a lot, and credit to those guys as well because they've been tremendous.
So why a barbershop?
Honestly, I just thought, I just thought it was a great, I felt like
Did you go to a barber before?
No, I felt like I could disrupt the market.
Okay.
My whole goal was to disrupt the market. And I know that's kind of bold to say, but I'm sure there's a lot of barbers that hate us, but we have. I mean, at the end of the day, we decided to do unlimited. We do unlimited plans.
So
You can go get your hair cut for $35 a month and go in many times as you want.
So it's
Car washes,
it's a
man.
subscription.
Subscription.
Yeah, it's all subscription based.
Really?
Yeah, we have different subscription services depending on what you want, and then you can go in as many times as you want. And if you're a guy that likes to keep your hair tight and short, then it's great. Obviously, there's it works for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody, but depending on what you want. And so that's kind of the model we took on, and it's really taken off. I think a lot of people have really appreciated it, and I just felt like there was just I think there was things missing in the marketplace that I felt that guys would appreciate, and I just kind of like everything that I like and that I'm into, just like from the perspective of GOAT, not that I'm like necessarily even diehard into barbering or any of that. I'm just like, well, what would a guy like me like? And that's kind of the way I've tried to treat it and say, hey, what needs or what improvements can we make to the industry? And so we've tried to do that.
So when was like the actual opening of the first?
It was in May of 18 in Lehigh.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And
Jeez.
Yeah. It was crazy. So, yeah. And again, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I had those guys, and I'm so grateful I brought them in. Everything the way it's panned out now to where we're headed. It's just, I feel like there's no other word for it other than divine intervention has been in my life to help support me along the way, is what I personally feel like. Because where we're at and where we're headed now would have never happened. The things that have occurred, I just don't think would have ever happened with GOAT. And it's not from necessarily my doing. It's just from, kind of being led in that way. And then things have transpired that I feel like have all been just not from me. I mean, it's just been too crazy. I mean, we'll probably have 100 stores by the end of next year. And, if I would have not had these partners, it probably would have happened like that. And who knows what would have happened in
okay, you threw that out
18.
very
I was
casually.
gonna say, if I was God, I'd want to help him. He's a humble dude.
You
So
very casually
It's
threw
awesome.
out that in 3 years we're going to be at 100 places. That's incredible.
well, thanks.
Like, I mean, how many open right now?
We have 9 open right now, but we have a lot in the process behind the scenes. There's probably about 8 more in the works right now, and then we're expanding out of the state, and we'll probably get to the point where, based on our projection timeline, if we don't get to 100, we may not get to 100 next year, but we'll be close, I think.
So when you started, was this what you had in mind? Or were you thinking I'm going to open up one barber shop?
I thought I'd open up, I thought I'd open more than one, but not at the scale and the rate that we're going. And I didn't even know, to me, it was like, let's try and see what happens.
Yeah.
I just wanted free haircuts for my kids. I got 4 boys. I'm like,
You got him.
save me $100
Yeah.
a month. That's all I wanted.
Holy.
So,
That's crazy.
yeah, but it's been fun. It's been a fun journey in regards to GOAT.
Have you guys changed or evolved from like the first store you're offering to now?
Yeah, for sure. We've learned new things. The other big thing we've tried to create a different culture there. And that's huge for me. I just don't think that the culture, I've wanted people to enjoy a place where they want to be and where they want to work. We've tried to attract a different style of client, I guess, too, that tips them well, that, all those things that they really need and appreciate to have what they do on a normal basis. And so to be sustainable, we've adapted for sure on different things, and we're continuing to evolve. I mean, we're continuing to try to add things and to continue to be a differentiator and a thought leader in what we're trying to do so that we're different. I don't want to be the same as what's out there. And hopefully we can just keep improving it and making it better. We're constantly trying to come up with new ideas to what can we do to try to make it different.
Wow. So how's COVID affected you guys?
COVID is
The shop.
well, COVID hasn't affected us terribly in Utah County. Salt Lake County, we had to shut down 2 stores,
Right.
but it was kind of a positive for us in the fact that we kind of were able
Once again, look at that perspective.
we were able to set a lot of I mean, there were stressful pieces to it, but it allowed us to kind of create a lot of new things and kind of reassess what our plans were, where we're headed, what we were going to do, until we're out right now. And we're still trying to perfect it and do little things to make it different. But hopefully people are having a positive experience with it and they're liking it.
So as you expand, are you doing that like via a franchise model, or you guys own all the spots you're going to?
Well, we own them all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you decide where to go?
We look at all the demographics. Utah's pretty easy. I feel like you can, knowing it enough, you can kind of make good judgments based off of the areas.
Yeah.
But that's the key is, looking at demographics and things that support your stores where you think that you can do well at, what the needs are, what the growth rate is. All those factors play into it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a fun, it is a lot of work. It's a crazy amount of work. Even one store is a lot of work, more than you think. And especially when you don't have a background in it. But I'm like, hey, I can learn this. We'll figure it out. So.
Wow.
You guys know how to do hard things, so.
I think we're done though.
Right? Yeah, you're right.
He might not be
Deserve
done.
1,000 stores in retirement here in like 5 years. But I don't know. From what I can tell, this guy, he might go crazy if he retired, right?
Oh yeah.
Would.
I don't think that's in the
Did you wrestle growing
cards
up?
for me. I didn't. I played.
You didn't?
I didn't. I played
wow.
baseball and football,
Okay.
basketball guy. Yeah.
So can I ask how you two met? Can we get romantic for a second?
Sure.
We met on a blind date.
Really?
Yeah.
Those work?
First one for both
Hey,
of
they
us.
worked for our last guest too.
I trusted my
Right?
aunt.
True.
Yeah.
I asked my aunt
That's
straight
true.
up. I said, because I really trusted her judgment. I said, is she cute or is she hot? And she said, she's hot. I said, okay, let's do it.
Like
Girl
a
says
true
cute.
gentleman, right?
Yep, that's right.
I don't care about her personality.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
care.
He tells my boys this too. I'm like, don't listen to him. La la la.
Yeah, I was actually at Dixie playing football and met her in the summer, and I never went back and played at Dixie.
No way.
Yeah. So anyways.
Can't get offended by hot. I mean, it's just a
Yeah,
compliment.
you can't. It's not
right?
something you want your boys to be judging their women on, though.
Well, it's gonna happen.
I
mean,
know exactly.
They'll realize. I mean, it just breaks the door down, right?
Yeah.
It's just the first
I'm
step.
always
Listen,
for
it's
sweet
the first-
spirits.
It doesn't stop at hot. It just
No.
it's like the billboard,
Yeah, 'cause
right?
if they're hot-
I
yeah,
might
the
go
one-
talk to that. I'll call that business.
The billboard.
What's the one that was about like hot and crazy?
Oh, it's the
You know?
greatest.
Oh, it's hilarious, right?
Unicorn.
And so you just tell the boys, listen, if
Crazy
they're
Hot
hot
Matrix.
and
That's
way
what it was.
crazy, you don't even go down that road.
Right.
Stay away.
Right. It's totally true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row. The Deatons.
Blind dates. There you go.
And it worked. And he even hid under car after the first one because he was too embarrassed to show her what car he was driving at the time.
That
Oh
might
my
be
gosh.
one of my
That's-
favorite
that's
stories
It
of all
was an
time.
awesome
He hid under the
story.
car.
So she was like going there, like saying goodbye,
Uh-huh.
and she went to get in her car, and she turned around and he had disappeared. He had dropped to the ground and rolled under the car because he didn't.
He didn't want her to see what her car was.
It's an awesome episode. So he was 9 months
classic.
into recovery.
Okay.
And so, life's just kind of getting
some of
back
my
to
favorite
normal.
Yeah, totally.
And just, he was still driving. I think it was a parent's like old Ford Focus. I guess she had pulled up in a pretty nice car. She lived at home still. And she turned around to talk to a friend and he just
Boom.
ducked,
He was gone.
rolled under the car.
That is crazy.
And they got
That's
together
awesome.
again later again. But, so funny.
Wow.
So blind dates work. That's very cool. So how long ago was that? Where are you guys from, by the way?
I grew up in Sandy.
Okay.
I grew up in West Jordan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So around here, locals.
Yep.
Local Utahs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, what a cool story.
Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Seriously.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Bye.
That was
Thanks for
amazing.
having us.
We are going to talk you up like crazy. I mean, I don't know where I've heard about it. When you said the baseball tournament, I have a hard time keeping track of it, but I swear I did something with one of your events with Bam Bams,
Maybe
just
you
doing
did.
some food or something.
I wonder if
Because it all
They
sounds
had
so
food
familiar
truck.
to me.
We did have food trucks there,
Huh.
but
guys do a
honestly,
food truck?
So I used to have a big
you?
old
No, wasn't
honking,
that
like
one.
45 foot. It's actually back there. The guy that bought it from me never paid me, so I repossessed
Had to
it.
take
but-
it back.
Yeah, but and it's funny. It was in Annapolis, so that's where
wow.
I got to know it. Like that is my. If you ever go back there, go to the Iron Rooster. It's right there by the Academy. It's the greatest breakfast
Okay.
of all time. That is such a cool. That old part of town.
Yeah,
of
it's so
Annapolis.
cool, huh?
Down
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, that
place,
was really
but-
cool place.
But no, I mean, I'd love to help though. So whenever you guys do events,
Okay.
you got barbecue for me.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And Andrew will
Great.
do financial advice for people, help them start new businesses.
I'll show
He's
them how
really
to
good at
deduct their
that.
deduction.
I love
Their
it.
But no,
contribution.
like, we would love to help however we can. Such a cool, you guys are awesome people. I mean, the foundation's one thing, but I mean, it's only as good as the people behind it. And what a cool legacy to leave for him. And what a cool thing for your kids to be able to take part in. And, you know, just awesome.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank
You guys come back whenever you want. And if we can ever advertise on the podcast or anything for anything you guys are doing, let us know. But
Appreciate you.
thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.